Good. Today, I want to share 5 simple habits that can help us feel calmer, stronger, and happier every day. These are small actions, but when we practice them consistently, they change how we experience life. Life constantly throws challenges at us, and it is easy to feel overwhelmed by circumstances beyond our control. We worry about the actions of others, the outcomes of events, the economy, or even natural disasters. We try to predict the future, to hold on to things we cannot change, and to control situations that are simply not ours to manage. When we do this, our minds fill with anxiety, frustration, and disappointment. Yet there is a way to live with more calm and clarity, and it begins with understanding one simple truth: we only have control over our own thoughts, choices, and actions. Everything else is not truly ours to command. The moment we realize this, we can stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable and focus on what genuinely matters. Focusing on what we can control is not about avoiding responsibility or ignoring the world. It is about recognizing our limits and directing effort where it has real impact. For example, you cannot control someone's anger or cruelty, but you can control how you respond. You cannot stop every hardship from happening, but you can choose how you face it. This shift in focus brings freedom. When we stop trying to change what is out of reach, our energy is no longer scattered by frustration, resentment, or fear. Instead, we concentrate on our own character, our decisions, and our responses, and these are the true sources of strength and peace. This principle also applies to our daily choices. When problems arise at work, at home, or in relationships, the first instinct is often to blame others or try to manipulate circumstances. But effort spent on changing things outside our control is wasted energy. Instead, we can ask ourselves, what can I do right now to act wisely, patiently, or kindly? By focusing on the choices available to us, we regain a sense of control even in difficult situations. We realize that even if outcomes are uncertain, our effort and our integrity remain firmly in our hands. Another important aspect of focusing on what we control is managing our thoughts. Our minds are powerful, and they can easily wander into worry, regret, or desire for things that cannot be secured. When we learn to observe our thoughts, question their usefulness, and guide them toward productive or positive directions, we take control over our inner life. External events may be unpredictable, but the mind's attention can be trained. Choosing our thoughts carefully allows us to respond calmly rather than react impulsively, to remain steady when others are chaotic, and to act with reason instead of being swept away by emotion. This approach also fosters resilience. Life is full of unexpected challenges, from small daily annoyances to major crises. If we focus on what is within our power, we find a source of stability that cannot be shaken. While the world may act unpredictably, our own choices, virtues, and actions remain consistent. We learn to navigate difficulty without unnecessary fear, to accept what cannot be changed without resentment, and to take responsibility for what we can influence without anxiety. Over time, this focus builds a strong foundation for inner peace and self-reliance. Finally, focusing on what we can control encourages humility and clarity. It reminds us that we are part of a larger world where many forces are beyond our command. By accepting this, we avoid futile struggles and wasted effort. We see more clearly where our energy is effective and where it is not. In relationships, at work, and in our own personal growth, this clarity allows us to make better decisions, invest effort wisely, and maintain calm even when life is unpredictable. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful habits we can practice. It is easy to take the good things in life for granted, to focus on what we lack, and to compare ourselves to others. Our minds naturally drift toward what is missing, what went wrong, or what we wish were different. This constant focus on scarcity creates dissatisfaction, anxiety, and restlessness. But when we intentionally notice and appreciate what we already have, even in small amounts, we shift our perspective in a profound way. Gratitude helps us see the abundance that is present in our lives rather than being consumed by what is absent, and this shift brings a deeper sense of contentment and calm. Practicing gratitude does not require grand gestures or elaborate rituals. It begins with attention. Paying attention to the everyday blessings that are often overlooked transforms our experience of life. A warm bed, clean water, nourishing food, the smile of a friend, or a moment of quiet in nature, these ordinary things are worthy of recognition. By noticing them, we remind ourselves that life contains countless small gifts that make living meaningful. Gratitude is a conscious choice to acknowledge these gifts, rather than letting them fade into the background of routine. Gratitude also strengthens our emotional resilience. Life inevitably brings challenges, disappointments, and losses. When we face these difficulties, it is easy to focus entirely on what has gone wrong. Yet, by remembering what we have and what is good, we anchor ourselves in reality rather than being swept away by negativity. Gratitude does not deny hardship or pain, instead, it provides balance. It allows us to face adversity with a calmer mind, because we are aware that even in difficult times, there are things that remain positive, things we can appreciate, and resources within us that are still intact. This balanced perspective prevents despair and encourages perseverance. Another benefit of gratitude is that it strengthens our relationships. When we recognize and appreciate the efforts of others, our connections become deeper and more meaningful. Expressing thanks for a kind word, a favor, or simple presence fosters goodwill, trust, and cooperation. Gratitude shifts our focus away from resentment, jealousy, or criticism, replacing it with recognition and acknowledgement. By practicing gratitude in interactions with others, we create an environment of mutual respect and warmth, which enhances our overall well-being. Gratitude also promotes mindfulness and presence. It requires slowing down, observing, and acknowledging the positive aspects of our lives. In our fast-paced world, it is easy to rush from one task to another, thinking ahead to what comes next or dwelling on past mistakes. Gratitude brings us back to the present moment. When we pause to recognize a moment of beauty, a helpful act, or an achievement, we become more fully aware of life as it unfolds. This mindfulness nurtures calm and prevents life from passing by unnoticed. Furthermore, gratitude cultivates a sense of humility. It reminds us that many of the blessings we enjoy are not solely the result of our efforts. We are supported by family, friends, teachers, communities, and the natural world. Recognizing this interconnectedness reduces arrogance and entitlement, while fostering a sense of respect and wonder for life. Gratitude reminds us that life is larger than ourselves, that we are part of a greater whole, and that even small moments and simple things have value beyond what we often perceive. Gratitude is not a one-time act but a continuous practice. It can be as simple as mentally noting one thing each morning that we are thankful for, writing a brief journal entry, or silently acknowledging the kindness of those around us. The more consistently we practice it, the more natural it becomes, shaping the way we perceive the world. It trains the mind to focus on abundance rather than lack, on presence rather than absence, and on the good that exists alongside life's inevitable difficulties. Discomfort is a natural part of life. From minor irritations to major challenges, no one is immune from pain, difficulty, or uncertainty. Many people spend much of their energy avoiding discomfort, seeking pleasure, or trying to escape difficult feelings. Yet this constant avoidance often increases suffering, because it makes us fragile and dependent on circumstances being ideal. Accepting discomfort, rather than resisting it, allows us to face life with courage, clarity, and resilience. When we embrace the fact that life includes hardship, we are no longer caught off guard, and we gain the strength to respond rather than react. Acceptance does not mean passivity or resignation. It does not imply that we must endure suffering without effort or improvement. Instead, it means recognizing what is inevitable and preparing our minds to meet it with composure. For example, physical discomfort, such as fatigue, hunger, or cold, is unavoidable at times. We can complain, resist, or let frustration take over, or we can accept it, adjust our actions, and continue moving forward. Acceptance reduces the emotional weight of difficulty and allows us to focus on constructive solutions rather than wasting energy on denial or resistance. Discomfort is not limited to physical sensations, it includes emotional and mental challenges as well. Fear, anger, sadness, and uncertainty are part of the human experience. Many people react to these emotions by trying to suppress them or distract themselves, but suppression often intensifies the feeling. By accepting discomfort, we acknowledge our emotions without being controlled by them. We observe them, understand their source, and respond with reason. This awareness creates inner calm and prevents destructive reactions that often worsen our situation. Embracing discomfort also builds resilience. Life's challenges are inevitable, and the stronger our mind, the better we can navigate them. Facing small discomforts regularly, such as minor inconveniences, delayed gratification, or constructive criticism, trains us for larger difficulties. Each time we confront discomfort without panic or avoidance, we strengthen our capacity to endure and adapt. This practice cultivates patience, perseverance, and mental toughness. Over time, we become less dependent on comfort and external conditions to feel secure or content, and our sense of stability comes from within. Discomfort can also be a teacher. Often, the things we resist most reveal opportunities for growth. Physical challenges can improve endurance and health. Emotional difficulties can deepen understanding and empathy. Setbacks in work or relationships can develop problem-solving skills and patience. Accepting discomfort allows us to learn from it rather than be defeated by it. When we approach difficulty with openness, we transform challenges into exercises in strength and character. A key part of accepting discomfort is changing our perspective on what is truly harmful. Often we fear things that are temporary or not as bad as they seem. Physical pain, mistakes, rejection, or criticism can feel overwhelming in the moment, but they rarely threaten our ability to live fully. By distinguishing between true harm and mere inconvenience, we reduce unnecessary fear and anxiety. This perspective allows us to face difficulties calmly and respond intelligently rather than react impulsively. Acceptance also encourages self-discipline. Choosing to endure minor discomforts, like waking early, exercising, or maintaining healthy habits, strengthens our ability to tolerate larger challenges. Discomfort in small, controlled doses builds confidence and a sense of mastery over ourselves. We begin to understand that life does not revolve around avoiding discomfort, but learning to manage it and act in spite of it. Finally, accepting discomfort fosters gratitude and contentment. When we meet difficulty without resistance, we appreciate ease and comfort more fully. We recognize the value of ordinary moments and the blessings that come from simply being able to endure, learn, and grow. By welcoming discomfort as a natural and instructive part of life, we cultivate courage, patience, and inner strength, preparing ourselves for whatever challenges may arise. Reflection is a powerful habit that allows us to grow wiser and live more intentionally. Each day presents choices, actions, and thoughts that shape our character and influence our future. Without reflection, we move through life on autopilot, repeating patterns, reacting impulsively, and often failing to learn from our experiences. By taking the time to look back on our actions, consider our motivations, and evaluate the results, we gain insight into ourselves and develop the ability to make better decisions in the future. Reflection is not about self-criticism or guilt, it is about understanding and improving. Daily reflection begins with observation. Paying attention to our behavior, our responses to events, and our interactions with others provides the raw material for learning. It requires honesty and clarity, acknowledging both strengths and mistakes without exaggeration or denial. For example, noticing moments when we acted with patience, kindness, or courage helps us understand what supports our well-being and relationships. Observing times when we reacted with anger, fear, or selfishness shows us patterns we may want to change. This honest awareness is the first step toward meaningful growth. Reflection also allows us to understand the causes of our emotions. Often, we feel frustration, sadness, or anxiety without examining why. By stepping back and considering the circumstances and our thoughts, we can identify triggers and underlying beliefs. We may discover that much of our distress comes not from external events, but from our interpretation of them. Understanding this distinction gives us power to respond differently in the future. Rather than being carried away by emotion, we learn to act with reason and intention. Another aspect of reflection is considering our goals and values. Each day provides opportunities to align our actions with what truly matters to us. Reflection asks us whether our choices are consistent with our principles and long-term aspirations. Are we prioritizing what is meaningful over what is merely convenient or pleasurable? Are we treating others in ways we can respect and admire? Are we cultivating patience, courage, and self-discipline? Taking time to answer these questions helps ensure that our daily actions contribute to the kind of person we want to become. Reflection also strengthens accountability. By reviewing our day, we hold ourselves responsible for both successes and failures. We recognize where we took initiative, where we fell short, and where we allowed external circumstances to dictate our behavior. This accountability is not punitive but constructive. It creates a sense of ownership over our life, showing that our character is shaped by choices, not by luck or misfortune. The more consistently we reflect, the more clearly we see the connection between effort and outcome, between habit and character. The practice of reflection fosters emotional calm. When we examine our actions and thoughts in a deliberate and calm way, we prevent regret and rumination from dominating our minds. Reflection turns passive worry into active learning. Instead of endlessly repeating mistakes in thought, we study them, understand them, and plan to respond differently next time. This approach reduces anxiety and increases confidence, knowing that even when we fail, we gain insight and experience. Reflection can also be a guide for decision-making. When faced with new choices, the lessons of past reflection inform us. We remember what led to success, what caused unnecessary pain, and what aligned with our values. This cumulative insight improves judgment, allowing us to navigate life with more clarity and less impulsivity. Over time, Reflection transforms simple awareness into wisdom, helping us act in ways that are effective, ethical, and aligned with our long-term well-being. Finally, reflection deepens gratitude and perspective. By considering what we have learned, the progress we have made, and the effort we have invested, we recognize growth that might otherwise go unnoticed. We appreciate our strengths, forgive our mistakes, and understand that life is a continuous process of learning. Regular reflection nurtures humility, patience, and a mindful approach to living, showing us that each day, no matter how ordinary, contains lessons and opportunities to improve. Keeping perspective is a habit that can transform the way we experience life. It is easy to become consumed by problems, fears, or desires that feel urgent in the moment. Yet when we step back and consider the bigger picture, many of these concerns lose their power over us. Perspective allows us to see what truly matters, what is temporary, and what is within our control. Without it, we are at the mercy of every minor setback, every criticism, and every passing frustration. With it, we gain clarity, calm, and the ability to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. Perspective begins with recognizing the scale of our worries. Many of the things we stress about today will not matter in a week, a month, or a year. We magnify temporary difficulties as if they define our lives, yet in truth, life is much broader than any single event or disappointment. By asking ourselves how much an issue will matter in the long term, we reduce the intensity of our anxiety. Small problems shrink when measured against the vastness of time and experience. This shift does not minimize challenges, but it prevents them from overwhelming us unnecessarily. Another key to keeping perspective is understanding the limits of our knowledge. We often fear what might happen in the future or dwell on what has already passed, imagining countless scenarios that may never occur. Yet the future is uncertain and the past is unchangeable. Obsessing over either robs us of energy and peace. Perspective reminds us to focus on what is real and present, on what we know and can influence. When we base our attention on facts rather than imagination or speculation, we respond more calmly and effectively. Perspective also helps us appreciate the positive aspects of life. When difficulties arise, it is easy to overlook the things that are going well, the people who care for us, and the progress we have made. By stepping back and evaluating life as a whole, we see the balance of good and bad. This awareness fosters gratitude and prevents despair. Even in challenging circumstances, we can find elements that are stable, meaningful, or uplifting, which strengthens our resilience and sense of well-being. Maintaining perspective involves comparing problems to their true significance. We may feel that a mistake, a criticism, or a failure is catastrophic, but when we consider its place in the broader story of our life, we often see it differently. Most setbacks are temporary and reversible. They are opportunities to learn rather than permanent defeats. This understanding prevents overreaction and helps us respond with reason rather than emotion. By keeping perspective, we act more thoughtfully and maintain inner calm even when external events are difficult. Perspective also allows us to understand the experiences of others and the wider world. Our own difficulties may seem overwhelming, yet by observing the challenges faced by others, we recognize that struggle is universal. This realization reduces self-centeredness and cultivates empathy. We see that life includes hardship for everyone, that difficulties are part of the human condition, and that we are not alone in facing them. This broader view encourages patience, compassion, and acceptance. Time is an essential tool for perspective. Moments of reflection, imagining the long-term outcomes, or considering the trajectory of our lives help us see beyond immediate discomfort. By imagining ourselves years from now, we can ask whether today's worries will hold significance. This exercise shifts our focus from the fleeting to the enduring, from trivial annoyance to meaningful concern. It reminds us that our energy is best spent on matters that align with our values and long-term goals rather than fleeting frustrations. Finally, keeping perspective strengthens our ability to make wise decisions. When we see the bigger picture, we are less likely to act impulsively, overreact, or give in to fear or desire. Perspective allows us to evaluate consequences, prioritize effectively, and act in ways that support our well-being and the well-being of those around us. By consistently practicing perspective, we cultivate a steady mind, a resilient spirit, and the ability to navigate life with calm and clarity, even in the face of uncertainty. Letting go of anger and resentment is one of the most important practices for inner peace. Anger is a natural human emotion, and it often arises when we feel wronged, insulted, or treated unfairly. Resentment develops when we hold on to these feelings over time, replaying the perceived injustices in our minds and feeding our own suffering. While it may feel justified in the moment, clinging to anger and resentment does not affect the actions or behavior of others. It only poisons our own thoughts, drains our energy, and clouds our judgment. Learning to release these emotions allows us to act with clarity, make better decisions, and live more peacefully. Anger and resentment are often rooted in our expectations. We expect people to behave in certain ways, events to unfold according to our plans, and life to be fair. When reality does not match these expectations, we feel frustration or indignation. By examining these expectations, we realize that much of our anger comes not from what happened, but from how we interpret it. Others cannot always meet our desires, and life will always contain uncertainty. Accepting this truth reduces the intensity of negative emotions and helps us respond with patience rather than hostility. Another step in letting go is understanding the cost of anger and resentment. Holding on to these feelings keeps our attention fixed on the past or on imagined slights. It distracts us from the present moment, from opportunities for growth, and from the people and experiences that bring joy and meaning. Resentment is like carrying a weight that slows us down and restricts our freedom. By releasing it, we unburden ourselves, reclaim our energy, and create space for calm, clarity, and productive action. Forgiveness is an important tool in this process. Forgiveness does not mean condoning harmful behavior or pretending it did not happen. It means choosing not to let the harm control our emotions. It is a decision to stop feeding anger and resentment, recognizing that holding on to them only hurts us. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the grip of negative emotions, and we gain the ability to respond to life with reason and integrity, rather than reaction. Letting go of anger also involves self-awareness and reflection. We can examine the moments when anger arises and ask why we feel it, what beliefs or desires underlie it, and whether it serves any useful purpose. Often, we discover that anger is disproportionate to the situation, or that it reflects our own attachment to outcomes or judgments of fairness. Awareness allows us to pause before reacting, consider our response, and choose a course of action that aligns with our values. Patience is closely connected to releasing resentment. Life is full of delays, misunderstandings, and imperfect people. When we cultivate patience, we understand that most situations are temporary, that people make mistakes, and that difficulties can often be resolved with time and effort. Patience reduces the tendency to become angry or hold grudges, and it encourages understanding and tolerance. By practicing patience consistently, we develop emotional resilience and a more balanced mind. Another perspective to help release anger is recognizing that we cannot control the actions of others. Their choices, mistakes, and behavior are outside our direct influence. What we can control is our own response, our own behavior, and the attitude we choose to adopt. By focusing on what is within our control, we shift energy from resentment to action, from complaint to constructive effort, and from frustration to calmness. Letting go of anger and resentment ultimately strengthens our character and improves relationships. When we act without the weight of negative emotions, we are more present, more compassionate, and more capable of responding with reason rather than impulsive reaction. We also create a more harmonious environment for ourselves and those around us, fostering trust, understanding, and mutual respect. By making this a daily practice, we cultivate freedom from unnecessary suffering and build a foundation for lasting inner peace. Acting with kindness and fairness is a habit that shapes both our character and our relationships. Life is full of opportunities to interact with others, and the way we respond in these moments reflects our inner values. Kindness is not only a gift to those around us, it also nurtures our own sense of purpose and peace. Fairness ensures that our actions are guided by reason and justice rather than impulse, desire, or personal gain. By consistently choosing to act with kindness and fairness, we build a life of integrity, strengthen our connections, and reduce conflict in the world around us. Kindness begins with simple awareness. Every interaction, whether with a friend, a stranger, or someone we may consider an adversary, is a chance to act with consideration. Small gestures, a gentle word, a helpful action, or a patient response can have a profound impact. These actions do not require recognition or reward. Their value lies in their alignment with our principles. When we cultivate kindness as a habit, it becomes second nature to respond to life in ways that uplift rather than harm, to offer support rather than judgment, and to create moments of understanding rather than conflict. Fairness is closely tied to self-control and reason. Acting fairly means evaluating situations without bias, considering the interests and rights of others, and avoiding favoritism or prejudice. It requires us to resist selfish impulses and to act according to what is right rather than what is convenient. Fairness in our choices builds trust and respect, both internally and externally. When we know that our decisions are guided by reason and justice, we maintain confidence in ourselves, and others learn to rely on our word and our actions. Acting with kindness and fairness also strengthens resilience. Life is unpredictable, and we will encounter people who act unfairly or with cruelty. Responding to such behavior with retaliation or bitterness only perpetuates suffering and conflict. Choosing kindness and fairness, even in the face of wrongdoing, allows us to maintain control over our emotions and our actions. It prevents us from being consumed by anger or resentment and demonstrates the power of a steady, principled mind. Over time, this consistency builds respect and admiration, while also reinforcing our own sense of integrity. Kindness nurtures empathy. When we actively consider the feelings, needs, and perspectives of others, we develop a deeper understanding of the human experience. This awareness makes it easier to act with compassion, to avoid unnecessary harm, and to offer help when it is needed. Empathy does not weaken us. Rather, it strengthens our relationships and enriches our own life by connecting us to the struggles and joys of those around us. By practicing empathy daily, we cultivate a sense of shared humanity and create a more harmonious environment. Fairness also requires reflection. We must pause to examine whether our actions are consistent with our principles and whether they contribute positively to the situation. Acting impulsively or from self-interest can lead to mistakes, regrets, or harm to others. Taking a moment to consider the consequences of our choices ensures that our behavior aligns with our values and avoids unnecessary conflict. Over time, this reflective approach strengthens judgment and promotes a sense of balance between our desires and ethical responsibilities. Kindness and fairness work together to build lasting relationships. Trust, respect, and loyalty grow when people experience consistent, fair treatment and genuine care. Even in professional or casual interactions, these qualities foster collaboration and understanding. Relationships built on integrity are more stable and meaningful because they are grounded in honesty, respect, and shared values rather than manipulation, fear, or selfishness. Finally, acting with kindness and fairness benefits our inner life. When we live according to these principles, we reduce internal conflict and guilt, enhance our sense of self-worth, and cultivate a calm and contented mind. Our actions become an expression of our values rather than reactions to external pressures or fleeting desires. By practicing this habit consistently, we create a life that is harmonious both within ourselves and with the world around us, and we experience the quiet satisfaction that comes from living with integrity and care. Valuing time and using it wisely is one of the most important habits for living a meaningful life. Time is the one resource that is truly limited and cannot be replaced. Each moment passes and never returns, yet it is easy to spend it carelessly on distractions, worry, or trivial pursuits. Many people treat time as if it is endless, postponing important actions, delaying personal growth, or investing energy in things that do not matter. By recognizing the value of time and making deliberate choices about how we spend it, we gain freedom, focus, and the ability to live with purpose. Time becomes precious when we understand its limits. Each day contains only a finite number of hours, and the way we use those hours shapes the quality of our life. Procrastination, excessive indulgence in entertainment, or dwelling on things outside our control wastes this invaluable resource. Conversely, directing time toward meaningful activities, self-improvement, and the care of relationships multiplies its value. Every moment invested wisely builds skills, strengthens character, and deepens connection, while moments squandered are opportunities lost forever. Using time wisely requires prioritization. Life presents countless demands and choices, many of which compete for attention. By distinguishing between what is urgent and what is truly important, we focus our energy on what has lasting impact. Important tasks may include personal growth, nurturing relationships, practicing virtue, or contributing positively to the lives of others. Urgent but trivial matters often consume energy without contributing to long-term well-being. Being mindful of this distinction ensures that we do not get caught in a cycle of business that ultimately leaves life feeling empty. Attention is a key aspect of valuing time. The mind has a limited capacity, and distractions reduce both the quality of our actions and the enjoyment of our experiences. When we focus fully on one task, one conversation, or one goal, we maximize the impact of our time and act with greater clarity. Scattered attention, on the other hand, leads to mistakes, wasted effort, and stress. By training the mind to remain present and intentional, we use time efficiently and reduce the mental noise that distracts from living fully. Reflection and planning also help us value time. Taking a few moments to consider how each day will be spent, to identify priorities, and to anticipate potential obstacles, allows us to act deliberately rather than reactively. Planning does not eliminate uncertainty, but it guides our choices and ensures that we invest time in ways that align with our principles. Reflection at the end of the day shows us how our time was used, highlighting successes, revealing wasted moments, and suggesting improvements for the future. Time is also a teacher. Observing how quickly moments pass reminds us that life is fleeting and unpredictable. This awareness motivates us to act now rather than postpone meaningful actions or defer personal growth. Waiting for the right moment often leads to delay and missed opportunity. By valuing the present and treating each moment as precious, we cultivate urgency and purpose, gratitude for what we have, and discipline in action. Relationships benefit greatly from the wise use of time. Spending time with loved ones, listening attentively, and engaging fully in shared experiences strengthens bonds and creates memories that endure. Neglecting relationships in favor of distractions or trivial matters erodes connection and leaves regret. By consciously choosing to invest time in meaningful human interaction, we nurture empathy, loyalty, and mutual support, enhancing both our lives and the lives of those around us. Finally, valuing time fosters self-respect and inner calm. When we live intentionally and honor each moment, we experience less regret, more satisfaction, and a sense of purpose in our daily life. Our actions become deliberate rather than reactive, and we align our use of time with our principles and long-term goals. This habit transforms life from a series of fleeting moments into a coherent, meaningful journey, where each day contributes to growth, virtue, and fulfillment.